I mean, I have to say, I mean, we've just been talking about the police stories, but let's focus on, which is still also a police story, really, the Channel migrants arriving at record speed. Who do you blame? Now it's 50,000 who've come since Labour came to power last July.
Well, since Labour came to power, so I blame the Labour Party and the Labour government. But previously, the Conservative administration has quite a lot of blood in its hands for this, but also going back as far as Tony Blair and his open borders plan.
Yeah,
so
thanks for that, Tony.
There are no clean hands when it comes to migration in this country.
There really aren't, are there? And again, also, even the people out of power, the Lib Dems, the Greens, go, oh, come on in. Human rights, this, human rights, that. The only person I'd say who's not to blame, genuinely, is the Reform Party, is Nigel Farage, who flagged up all this years ago. There he is. On the cliffs of Dover, pointing to all the migrant boats. He was out there focusing on it, and everyone to his left was basically saying, "Oh, you horrible bigot, you horrible bigot. These are desperate migrants fleeing." Let me check my notes. France, where I'm going on Friday.
And it's interesting that you bring up the Green Party. So they put themselves as the moral arbiter of absolutely everything. And they think that people should be able to come here because of the climate emergency the country of origin, but then tell us that we also have a climate emergency in this country. So, I mean, if they want to send me somewhere else, please.
I would like to be sent, yes, because of the climate emergency, I would like to send to the Bahamas, please.
Absolutely.
That would work for me. Well, I was pointing out earlier, and I'll point out again, because we had, legal migrant live streaming his step-by-step Channel crossing, and what a surprise, people going, I think I'll come. Front page of pretty much every paper today, but I'll give you the Times. The Channel boat migrants arriving at record speed. I'm holding up the picture for those of you who are listening and not watching. There's a photograph of a load of people in Calais running off the beaches into the water to go and get onto a boat. Some other photographers ahead of them, so they're a bit rubbish at running photography with all that equipment, doing better. I've got to be honest with you, they don't look like women and children to me, as the Treasury Minister said a little while ago. They're mostly women and children. I mean, unless women and children have all got beards, I'm pretty sure they're not women and children. They look like young men. They look like men of fighting age. I mean, it looks to me like an invasion. If I was sitting on a beach and I saw a whole load of those men turning up, I would think it was an invasion. Oh, because that's what it is when 50,000, mostly young men from foreign countries, come to our country. Now, the interesting thing here is that if at the next general election, Nigel Farage and Reform, or the Tories, they chose to do it, but Nigel Farage, maybe he got in a lot of trouble during the referendum. Was it during the referendum? Wasn't it? During the referendum. And he had a picture of the Leave.eu. They had a photograph on a poster of the migrants who in 2015 were just streaming across Europe. Remember those extraordinary scenes, basically saying, oh, this was very racist, despite the fact they were people who, looked fairly pale-skinned to me. He chose a typical photograph that had been on front pages in the newspapers, but he was called a bigot. Nigel Farage puts this picture onto a placard, onto an advert, on a billboard, in the next election, he will be accused of being a bigot. But it would be totally legitimate. This is literally what's happening, isn't it?
Absolutely. But what Nigel Farage also needs to do is give us what he would do about it. Now, this is what's frustrating about the argument.
Wait a minute, we're going to do something about it.
Hello, Keir Starmer.
Why didn't anyone think of that before?
I mean, it's a novel idea to actually have a plan, and I think that if Reform are serious about forming the next government, and all the polling shows that they have the support, then they need to come up with a set of plans that would actually...
And a proper plan.
Yeah, a proper plan that would hold up to scrutiny and not be embarrassed by it.
OK, leaving the ECHR, leaving the European Court of Human Rights, Convention or whatever, that's not going to be enough. No. It's necessary but not sufficient.
Precisely.
You need to do that because you're never going to get out of it otherwise. But you're going to have to give completely different guidance, I would say, up through an Act of Parliament to the tribunals to tell them, no, you have to look at the second paragraph of Article 8, right to private life, and actually look up the benefit to the British society of someone staying in this country. I believe where there's a will, there is a way. I thought the last government vaguely had a bit of a will near the end. This government definitely don't have a will at all. No. They definitely don't have a way. They said they would smash the gangs. The actual arrests of people involved in people smuggling has actually gone down in the last year rather than up, which I think is a rather telling statistic, is it not?
Well, of course. Who would have thought that criminals would hide their identity, would be housed overseas, be out of the jurisdiction of the UK courts. I mean, who would have thought that they could do that?
Never.
Keir Starmer believed that he could sort of freeze all their assets because they'll have a high street branch of the bank and a bank card in their name.
Of course they will. I mean, it's just
it
mad,
doesn't work, does it?
It's just mad. But the thing is, no wonder we can't deal with that, because we can't stop. You know, two jobs, literally the two jobs of a government. The first two jobs: one, protect the borders. Can't do that. Two, to maintain law and order in the streets. We definitely don't have that. That feeling that people have is very, very real. It's not because we're making it up. We are genuinely aware of just the lack of law and order on our streets, the litter, the mayhem, the shoplifting, the beggars, the rough sleeping, the drugs, the zooming e-scooters all over the pavement, the general behaviour of people in public. I mean, again, I don't believe in capital punishment for murder or rape or anything, but absolutely the death penalty for people who talk on their phones very loudly in public, particularly if they're doing the video FaceTiming. FaceTiming, I think FaceTiming on public transport should be a capital crime. I will hold that view until the day I die. But we know about this. But the police are expanding use of facial recognition vans. I was saying to you earlier, I was on Oxford Street yesterday, our premier shopping street in the country, apparently. Not anymore. I mean, most of the big stores, the House of Fraser and everything, they've all gone. They've got John Lewis, that's the one everyone sleeps outside, in their brand new newly stolen white duvets. I kid you not, every night. But there were 9 police officers around a facial recognition van, big signs, flashing lights, very clear, big signs up. They have to do that, for GDPR and human rights reasons. 9 coppers in full uniform. And when I spoke to them, they told me that they'd been there 3.5 hours, and in 3.5 hours they had dealt with, in their words, 2 people. And I said, so arrested? No, they had not arrested anybody. They had dealt with 2 people. We'd yet to ascertain what that meant, but they were going to be there another, basically 4.5 hours. So I'm obviously going to contact the local police station to find out how many people they did deal with, arrest. But is that a good use of police resources? You worked in the Home Office for many years. They say that use of facial recognition, they can find people who are wanted on court warrants and the like. Would those people see that van and think, I might not walk down that street? I'm going to go out on a limb here. Yeah,
they're going to avoid the area like the plague. I think that it does have a part to play, but it doesn't require just sort of one stationary van and 8 officers. Surely the whole point of having
this... across the road as well.
And so 9. So how about, you've got this technology. You don't need people standing there having a look about.
When they really weren't. They were having a chat to each other.
Looking about. So surely the whole point is that if you see somebody in a crowd, the cameras can spot that person, and then that alert can be sent to a police officer in the area.
Yeah, it just seemed to me to be a very poor use of resources. They claim it. But also, of course, we do have the issue of people's, freedom. Now, I know Big Brother Watch and others are very concerned about this camera recognition use, but we are on CCTV all the time. Apart from if you do have as I had a bag stolen last year, and I'm bored on about it. No CCTV in an area where there's loads of thefts. No CCTV there. Like,
amazing.
Wouldn't that? I don't know. I'm thinking maybe a place should put the CCTV. I'm just throwing that out there. But it does seem utterly bizarre that you are basically. They say they throw the information away once they scan it.
Yeah.
But law-abiding members of the public are being scanned. Are you any more concerned about being, a police officer in real life standing there, seeing if they recognise somebody? Of course, the AI technology can recognise and scan faces and things much more efficiently. Is that any more sinister, if sinister at all? Because Big Brother Watch and others say it's very worrying, and it's our data, it's our privacy, and they're knowing where we are and what we're doing, and they've got no sodding right knowing what law-abiding citizens are doing.
And I read things that Big Brother Watch put out because it is quite interesting to get that side of the argument. But I'm still of the view that we give all of the information that we have anyway. If you have a driving licence, if you have a passport, if you have a Tesco club card,
but police aren't allowed to just ask for it. One reason I oppose digital ID.
Yeah.
Police officers are not allowed to ask for my ID. Police officer says, I want to know who you are, show me ID. You have a right to say no. And what crime do you think I'm suspected of? Why are you questioning me?
And I think this is the worry, isn't it? There's going to be this massive overstep. You have all of this technology, you have all of this capacity to store facial details. what's to stop that then being abused in the other,
or leaked somewhere?
Or sold to the highest bidder.
Because
that's my concern.
They've been so secure so far. I mean, even the banks can't keep our data secure. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? But also, we were told CCTV was going to be, that was going to be solving crime. We have rising crime. We have higher crime levels than many other equivalent countries. We've got more cameras than China, which is a police state, and Singapore.
Yes.
Now, I'm sorry, if CCTV hasn't, I know it's a different kind of thing, but it only works if you follow it up, and if the CCTV is good enough quality. I'm not convinced we are going to see the crackdown on crime that they claim this will lead to, and crackdown on criminals, and whether that is worth the exchange of our personal liberty and freedom, and not to be spied on by the state. Having been spied on by the state during lockdown, and my information being handed to an counter-terror group in the United States, formerly by my own government when I was doing nothing illegal. Sorry, I no longer trust the state. I think I was probably foolish to trust them in the first place.
And that is your real problem. But also, if there is no deterrent to a criminal, as in being arrested, being charged, put in prison, then it doesn't really matter, and they can roam around in 30-degree heat with their face covered and their hood up and a black tracksuit, and nobody will get
Amazing how many young men on my public transport home seem to be terribly concerned about COVID. Yes, they don't feel the heat. It's 30 degrees, 30 plus on the tube, but they're wearing a puffer jacket and a mask, looking totally unsuspicious whatsoever. But if you did question that, why are you racist? Because that's always you know what it is. But but no, just wondering whether you're feeling the heat or not, and what your face looks like. Let's talk about jobless benefits claimants, up by 1 million. I genuinely was given these stats when we were in the last half hour of the show yesterday, and part of me was like, I think they've got this wrong. They must have printed out the wrong headline. Jobless benefits claimants up by 1 million since Labour came to power. In 1 year, up 1 million. A record 8 million people are now on universal credit, and nearly half of them, 3.7 million, there is no requirement for them to look for work. They've been written off, and even the ones who are required to look for work, you're basically looking at about 2.5 million people who, they're planning for work, preparing for work, searching for work. It doesn't look very convincing to me.
Well, I mean, what is planning for work?
I know.
Planning for work means
putting together a CV. Yeah, you're unemployed. You should have all, apply for
getting
a job.
Up, showered, dressed, out the house, down to the train station. That's my planning for work in the morning.
Buying an alarm clock.
That would be nice. Everybody has one on their mobile phone, so I don't buy any of this I can't get up in time. But also, when you're looking at the younger generations who are in these numbers, what have they been taught by their parents? And I know we always go on about this.
We do our middle-aged mum thing, but we're right.
Yes, we absolutely
Your child isn't a sort of law-abiding, contributing member of society. I think that's on you.
It absolutely is. My child has been hoofing around bales of hay over the last couple of days to earn
That's
some
technical
money.
farming term.
It is very technical, but to earn some cash. Because it's the summer holidays.
Good.
And the same as your daughter has worked her entire way through her school life, because when she's been old enough to do so, because she wants some extra money to be able to go out. And it's also
washing up and things like that. I'm not too proud to do any job, quite rightly.
And we've all done jobs that we don't particularly like, but the fact is you have to do them. And it also gives you a good grounding.
No, you don't. Lots of parents just give their kids money and they think they're doing them a favour and they're being really nice. So these are the people who call their daughters princess.
Yes.
Do not call your child princess. She's not a princess. Telling her she is a really bad idea. Or if you're Katie, whatever, which one? Katie Price. Actually naming your child princess. Not a healthy thing to do. I genuinely think this is just so busy. But as we were talking to a guest earlier on the show, it does seem to me that, that a lot of people just think, well, I don't see why I should work. There's a real attitude, and especially a lot of young people who come out of, let's face it, second-rate unis with third-rate degrees and 50 grand's worth of debt, who go, well, why should I do a job, working in a coffee bar or washing up or anything else? Why should I? I've got a degree. Yeah, But actually, lots of people with good degrees do actually do those jobs, and they're proud of it. But also, there are plenty of jobs you've got to start at the bottom. You've got to work your way up. It's about the fact the young people you meet, you say, "Oh, I want to do your job." Oh, yeah. Well, so did I want to do my job. It never occurred to me I'd do this job years back. But you know, I didn't just walk in one day and say, "I think I'd like my own radio show." I mean,
nice?
Exactly. And I was working in a basement office in Bethnal Green on my local newspaper, on £9,000 a year. I've done my time. But it's just lots of people just simply don't think that they need to do their time.
And I was talking to a friend of mine. I travel in on the train with her. She's a police officer, and we were talking about what jobs we had as kids, because our children are coming to certain ages, and it was really interesting. She worked in a shop. A friend of hers worked on the fish counter of the local supermarket. I've worked in a library. I
chopped onions and garlic all day on a Saturday for about 2 years.
And you just get up and you do it, and you learn how to deal with the public, you learn how to deal with a boss, you learn how to deal with other people. And you don't like it, but do you know what? At the end of the day, you've got some cash in your pocket.
I actually really quite enjoyed a lot of those jobs. I think, but again, then you get, okay, this links in. Under 22 should get free bus travel. The Transport Committee, MPs and the Transport Committee have said, they're telling the government, because we'll get people used to using buses. And they're like, now in lots of parts of the country that you get a discount, or children are free, and parts of England and Wales. There are different rules everywhere. In London, they're getting discount travel. And if it was up to me, I'm absolutely serious, I would ban under 22s from the bus. Every time I've been on a bus, the people causing the trouble are youngsters. Leave the buses to the adults who've paid full fare, and of course the pensioners. I do resent the fact that my parents, who do not need any financial help, thank you very much, get free bus travel. That really pees me off, I've got to be honest with you.
It does. I mean, I grew up in an area with no buses. I now live back in the area of no buses. So my child is not going to have that choice. But he's going to have to walk somewhere if he wants to get to a job. And that's
why
fine.
should under 22s get free bus travel?
They shouldn't. They absolutely shouldn't. I don't have an issue with when you're under 16 having half price.
That's to benefit the parents.
Precisely, but I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is giving everything to a group of people who aren't actually going to give anything back.
Or they can't afford the £3 bus fare. It's like, oh, but you can afford... I see you walking along with your free coffee, with your £4 coffee from Starbucks. You've got your eyelashes done, got your nails done. The guys have got, designer trainers on. Everyone's got a fake tan. Oh, but I can't afford my bus fare. Oh, do me a favour. There endeth Auntie Julia and Auntie Claire's rant about the world. Love to hear your thoughts on all of these stories.